Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Drunk Drivers of America. We're diving into real courtroom cases of drivers caught behind the wheel, drunk, high, or under the influence of controlled substances. Let's get into it. In the first case, we meet Judge Fleischer and a man facing his second DUI charge. Despite a history of drunk driving, he got caught behind the wheel again. Now he's looking at up to 1 year in jail. Will the judge believe his excuses this time?
The law doesn't give a rat's ass what your excuse is. They don't care what in the hell catastrophic happens in your life. Your record speaks for itself. And that's what the law cares about. Mr. Cooper, you're charged with driving while intoxicated, second offense. You're facing a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. You guys have worked out an agreement. They're offering you 30 days in jail, credit for the 2 days that you've done. This is now going on your record. Now makes 2. What happens on the third one?
Be honest, won't be a third.
Do you know how many people tell me that, Mr. Cooper? Take a guess. How many people tell me that they're never going to do it again? Take a guess.
Speaking on me, I know on me that feeling comfortable with what happened. I know I was at a bad spot and everything else, just everything reflected on me. And then for it's bigger than me that I have to take care of others. I was just focused on me that nothing was working. So that just me that honestly, just since then I haven't had nothing and I'm comfortable with it. I haven't had a drink, nothing. And then I was relying on it. So
Mr. Cooper, do you know how many people on a daily basis tell me that they're never going to do it again? It's the last time or whatnot. The thing about it is that this is still fresh in your mind right now. And the problem is life is such that there's always something catastrophic that's going to happen. And it always happens at the worst time. It never happens in a good time. And maybe a wife cheats on you, you lose your job, someone dies, and it causes you to do something that you wouldn't normally do. The law doesn't give a rat's ass what your excuse is. They don't care what in the hell catastrophic happens in your life. It is, and your record speaks for itself. And that's what the law cares about. Whatever it is and whatever happens, you need to understand that with your record, if you were ever in a car driving and you even had the faintest and the remote smell of alcohol, you will get charged with a third DWI.
Even 1 DWI is too much, let alone 2. And we're not even talking about 3 or more. Let's compare the possible consequences. I think we can all agree on one thing. It's just not worth the risk. Don't endanger yourself or others. Call an Uber, a taxi, a relative, a friend, your girlfriend or boyfriend. You don't need this.
And now you're facing another felony offense. Have you been to prison before?
yes, then
How many times have you been to prison?
with TDC
Correct.
twice.
So you will be labeled
State
with,
jail twice. And far as everything else is like an old past to myself that I feel like I changed, but my record don't say that. My record don't say I've changed. If
Indictments.
everything go by dates, it's been about 20 years.
indictments don't care
Okay.
how old and how good,
Exactly.
whether you have been Mother Teresa out there, they don't care. All they look at is how many times you've been to the penitentiary. And now you will be labeled as a true habitual, facing a minimum of 25 years to life in prison if you pick up another DWI. If you had the faintest and remote smell of alcohol, you will be facing a minimum of 25 years to life in prison if you pick up another one. If I were you, I would never, even if you had the freakiest, remote, and just catastrophic thing in your life, I would never get in a car. Even if you've had one hit off a joint, a sip of a beer, a third of a glass of wine, because the next time you get pulled over, it's a 25 to life case. I represented a guy once that had been to the pen in 79 and 80. And he picked up a PCS 30 years down the road. Do you think that the indictment and the charging intake cared that they were 30 years old? He was still a true habitual. So that's what I'm saying. You understand?
A plea agreement hearing is a court session where the defendant agrees to plead guilty to a charge in exchange for a lighter sentence or the dismissal of other charges. During the hearing, the judge reviews the agreement to make sure it's fair and that the defendant understands what they're agreeing to. If the judge accepts the deal, the case usually skips trial and moves straight to sentencing. It's a way to resolve cases faster and avoid the risk of a full trial.
You give up a lot of rights by entering into this agreement. You give up the right to a trial, right to compel witnesses to testify on your behalf, confront and cross-examine your accusers, the right to be arraigned, charge right to an open court. If you're not a citizen, there are possible immigration consequences. Once you plead guilty, you can never change this. It will go on your record and it will be there forever. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to scare you enough so that you understand that even if you're not completely wasted where you're urinating and vomiting on yourself, that doesn't matter.
I know this as far as, you done this. Now, as far as myself, it wasn't nothing partying about it. It was just me feeling that a hard time on myself. It was like me or death. And then as far as when I was doing what I was doing, I did not care. Everything in my life was just going rock bottom. As you see, and far as they see, my record is going to be there. You're not going to read dates. It's not going to be me trying to be Mother Teresa. It's not going nowhere. And it was just me or death. Didn't care. As far as this here had just reeled me back, that it's more than me that have to depend, people depend on me. And then as far as with this here, it's just harder I have to work. So harder I try to work, so out of everything else, people would probably come up here. It was a pure party. It wasn't no party with me.
And it doesn't have to be, though.
I know.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's why I realized.
It doesn't matter what is going on in your life. The law doesn't care what's going on in your life, doesn't care how hard of a time you're having. They don't care about your personal life. They don't care about how well you're doing here, how bad you're doing there. All they see, black and white. They look at your history. They look at what you're doing. They marry them together. And then that's what the charge becomes. So that's what I'm telling you. In the future, all you have to do is just don't get into a car. And then you're fine. If you're going to go out and you're going to, even whatever it may be, just don't get into a car. That's it. Because you have a lot to lose. And if you have a lot of people that depend on you, they could lose you for a long time. All those people. As far as what we're doing now, they're going to lose you now again for another 30 days. You got 2 days credit. I will give you credit for those 2 days. When did you want to turn yourself in? Did you want to turn it in today? Later on? What did you want to do?
I had an option, but just out of, it could be.
If you want to turn in later today, I'm happy to do that. Understand you're still under bond conditions in this court. I can have you turn in by 6 tonight if you want. Is that what you'd like to do? Okay.
They'll have me.
You have to report to 49 San Jacinto by 6 p.m. tonight. Don't be late, because if you're late, they're not going to take you. And then we're going to have another whole host of problems. I don't know. They'll give you paperwork as to where you turn yourself in. I am going to suspend your license for a year. Do not drive until you get a license. And then, do you have any questions? How do you plead to the offense of driving while intoxicated, second offense, guilty or not guilty? I will find you guilty, sentence you to the 30 days in jail. I will give you credit for the 2 days that you've done. 1 year driver's license suspension. Mr. Cooper, we wish you the best of luck. We never want to see someone go down. We never want to see anyone hurt. But if you're going to endanger the community, we're not going to take it. because there's such an easier alternative and solution, right? I mean, one button on your phone, you have a car waiting to take you wherever you want to go. There's just no excuse. All right, good luck, Fred.
Drunk drivers are a serious problem in America. They don't just put themselves at risk, they're a major danger to everyone around them. According to data from the Simran Law Group, here are the 10 worst U.S. states for drunk drivers. In the next case, the mother of a 7-year-old child appears before Judge Middleton. She's addicted to methamphetamine, smokes marijuana, has a pile of unpaid fines, drives under suspension, without a license, and speeds regularly. She works at Pizza Hut, but her addiction causes her to lose her job. Judge Middleton wants to help, but sometimes you just can't help people who don't want to help themselves.
The driving suspended and improper plate. There was a possession of methamphetamine that was authorized. So the ticket was written. It's the same offense.
It's the same offense, okay.
But so that's why it is a little bit unusual, but there is the use of meth offer that after talking to Mr. Robert, we'd like to take advantage of this for.
All right. Miss Kitchen, you're a mess. You need to stop driving. And I didn't know the methamphetamine was in the mix. That certainly explains a lot of dysfunction. But let's talk about this. In the May 4th incident, they're offering a plea to use of methamphetamine and dismiss the felony possession charge. Use of methamphetamine is a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail. He would also plead to driving with a suspended license on that day. Is that your understanding, Mr. George?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How'd you get here?
My sister drove me.
Where is she?
I think she's waiting outside.
All right.
She's been coming in and check. She was in here with me when we got here.
I went through the advice of rights several times. And do you understand that you're giving up those rights by entering this plea?
Yes.
Anybody threaten you to get you to plead to this?
No.
Or promise you anything?
No.
All right. Were you driving a car on May 4th here in St. Joe County? Let's take a look at it. It's hard to keep them all straight. All right. This was Centerville Constantine Road at Hogel Road at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on May 4th. May 4th was a Saturday. Where were you going?
I was heading to my mother's house so that I could get my clothes for work.
Where does your mother live?
Mendon.
You live on River Run Road.
Yes.
Well, where do you live?
I was on that day I was at my sister Sarah's house in my kitchen.
Whose car were you driving?
It was mine.
So they made a traffic stop, asked you to empty your pockets. Baggie of methamphetamine came out. And then you also had some sort of pipe. How much meth was there?
I didn't have any. It was an empty baggie and there was nothing in the pipe.
All right. Had you used some?
Before that, yes, but by that point it had been a few weeks.
All right.
But I haven't been doing it since. I haven't done it.
Was your license suspended at that time?
I believe so.
Now, you were also driving a vehicle in White Pigeon on April 30th. And they charge you with driving suspended. I must not scare you very much. I told you to stop driving, and they're dismissing the December 27th whole file. No insurance, failed to stop after collision. That's in December. Then you drive in April and White Pigeon. Then you drive again in May, coming from White Pigeon with meth in your pocket. They're going to dismiss the driving suspended charge for a plea to no valid operator's license. That's punishable by up to 90 days in jail, fine of up to $100. You understand the charge?
In your honor,
Yes?
the city attorney also wanted the civil infraction.
Oh, and all civil infractions, which is what? Speeding and no proof of insurance. Well, that doesn't help. But anyway, no ops. Did you not have a valid license on that day?
No, I didn't.
Where were you going that day?
On the 30th,
Yeah.
the day before was my birthday, so I had spent the night at my sister's house, and I had to take the kids to school in the morning.
And where do they go to school? How old are your kids? I asked you some of this.
7, and my nephew just turned 9. I mean 10.
Are you still working at Pizza Hut?
Yeah,
Why'd you wear your apron in here?
I have to work today, and I didn't know how long it was going to be. I didn't
Which one do you work at?
think 3 Rivers.
All right, I go in there quite a bit. And did you not have proof of insurance?
No,
And you didn't have, you were going too fast.
yeah, I had forgotten that the one part of the road was a school zone during a certain time of the day, and so it's not 40, it's 25 or 35. I can't remember. I tried to slow down, but yeah.
I don't know what to do with you. I'm gonna need some help. I don't need a pre-sentence, but I need a couple things. If I gave you a drug test today, what would it show?
Show you.
What?
I would hope you would.
Well, this was in May. Would you have methamphetamine in your system today?
I don't think so.
Which means maybe, which means you've been using since May. I'm surprised you're still on both feet. You got kids, you got family issues, you got other struggles. You need methamphetamine like you need a hole in the head. Do you understand I could just put you in jail for a while? You've also got $995 worth of other unpaid tickets. And some of these may overlap, so it may not be as bad as it looks. But I got to sort this all out. Let's see which ticket goes with which. You're not doing real well. And when you say I don't know, means if I sent you over to the day reporting center, you test positive for meth. So whoever's selling it to you ought to be put in a small box with no key. Mr. George, you got any suggestions?
Your Honor, I'm already set for a sentencing on July 29th at 11. I presume that the court, just based on the morning this morning and everything that's going on here, would probably want to set this out for a different date.
Yeah, that's my first day back from vacation, and I need to do some heavy lifting on this case. Because I also want to see what's going on with her.
I think I'm gone the 5th, but I think Mr. Felt chewed that up anyways.
Yes.
I believe I'm here on the 12th at 11. I don't know if that would be, but the 19th would be open as well.
All right, let's go to Monday, August 12th at 11. I'm going to give you a drug test that day. Will you test for marijuana also?
I do use marijuana. I mean, I can stop if you'd like me to.
Well, let's see what you can do. It's lawful for you to use marijuana as an adult in the state of Michigan. But if I put you on probation, you're going to have to stop. And it's complicated. You got children, you got a job. Stop driving. All right. If you drive again, I'm going to put you in jail just for that until the snow flies. So it's like you're just floating through life in la la land. You can't drive. And there's a bunch of other baggage on here. I'm really going to have to do some work on this. Need to sort out tickets. I'm going to give you a notice. It's going to be a short lunch day because I got a bunch of work to do for the files that haven't come to court. How many hours are you doing at Pizza Hut?
Anywhere between 30 and 38 hours a week.
We're gonna be very busy on August 12th. All right, you need to go to the court office because you need to get fingerprinted. You're gonna need to sign a PR bond. But what time are you supposed to be at work?
She asked me to come in at 2.
All right, you'll be out of here by 2. Are you taking any other medication, anxiety medication or anything?
No, I haven't had any good luck with medication.
Well, methamphetamine ain't the medication you need. Probably neither is marijuana. All right. You can go with the officers, stay in contact with your lawyer, and I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with you and how many of these tickets relate to how many other tickets. Mr. George, what would you like me to know here?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, we had a number of matters that were in front of the court, and I know that my client wanted to get everything resolved so that we could stop running away from this, come in, take responsibility for it, and move on. But in our last conversation, we had the new complaint that alleged possession of methamphetamine, which she pled to use. I think that kind of crystallized what was going on with her. She has some struggles that she's dealing with and compounding it with that methamphetamine use. So, all in all, I think that she would benefit from a term of probation. She has a lot of outstanding fines and costs that would give her the opportunity to help to try to pay those off. Also access pivotal and other resources to try to address this issue before it becomes something that just dominates her life. She's still very young, so she can make the decision on which way to go. I know that one of the issues that she's been talking to me about is when the vehicle was towed after the stop, a lot of her personal effects were in there, including her ID, social security card. But I believe that she had bought the vehicle from an individual, but the title was never transferred. So she doesn't have the ability to access that. So that's kind of added to the mountain of issues that she's dealing with. But she understands that she's not going to be able to drive for a while. She needs to take a break from that, take responsibility for her actions that have kind of put her license in peril. But I think first and foremost, she needs to address this methamphetamine issue and get some of those resources so she can think clearly, be happy and healthy, and then move on and try to rebuild her life. Thank you.
I couldn't figure out what I was dealing with until I learned the methamphetamine was in the picture. And then maybe it made more sense. As we saw, she was driving with a suspended license in December. She drove with a suspended license or no license in February. She drove again in April. She drove again in May. And in May, she had methamphetamine in her possession. She has a bunch of these little ancillary things, like no proof of insurance and no proof of registration, and that sort of got left in there. I wasn't clear on the February incident, February 14th, because the state police didn't charge her with no ops or driving suspended. They just gave her some tickets, which she didn't pay. She was working at Pizza Hut. Is that right?
Yes, but I lost my job pretty much really shortly after the last time I was here.
Okay. Where are you living now?
I'm still living at my mother's house.
Where are your kids?
They live with me.
You knew that I was going to test you for methamphetamine today, and you couldn't not use. I had another woman today that I told her I was going to test her, and she managed to not use, at least long enough to test negative. You can't stop. And this is, I don't know how you're paying for it. I think all your money was going to methamphetamine, and you just keep driving. They used to suspend your driver's license for use of controlled substance charges, which they don't anymore, which is fine with me. It isn't really related. This felony methamphetamine charge was reduced to a misdemeanor. Put you on probation. I guess we can try 7411 on them. I think she's eligible for it. Are you seeing Pivotal now?
I don't go to Pivotal. I have therapy that I do once a week, but
Who's it with?
that's through Heartstone Guidance Center in Grand Rapids.
All right, well,
It's online.
All right, and you need more than that. No drugs, no controlled substances, submit to chemical test on demand. Or 31 days in jail, credit 1. You're going to jail right now for 30 days. And have some forced clean time to start this off. You can't stop using methamphetamine and you're killing yourself. You're doing a terrible disservice to your children, and it impairs your judgment to the fact that you just keep driving with no license.
I haven't been driving since I got arrested.
Well, that's a good thing. There was the 5 times before that is what caused the problems. But you're going to jail right now to get some forced clean time, start this probation on a positive note. You can go with the court officer.
My daughter's about to start school and I haven't taken her school shopping.
Yes, I don't enjoy this at all, Miss Kitchen, but this is on you. You can go with the court officer.
What do you want the charge under, sir?
What?
Probation violation or?
No, it's a
use of
sentence on a use of methamphetamine charge.
Methamphetamine and fentanyl use in Michigan have shown alarming trends in recent years. According to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, methamphetamine-related deaths increased from 30 in 2010 to 379 in 2020, while fentanyl-related deaths rose from 271 in 2013 to 1,909 in 2020. In 2021, the Michigan State Police reported that methamphetamine was the most commonly seized drug, accounting for 33% of all drug seizures. Fentanyl was the second most commonly seized drug, accounting for 25% of all drug seizures. The increase in methamphetamine and fentanyl use has had a devastating impact on Michigan communities. In 2020, there were over 2,700 drug overdose deaths in Michigan, with methamphetamine and fentanyl being the most common drugs involved. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has implemented several programs to address the opioid crisis, including expanding access to naloxone, increasing funding for treatment programs, and launching public awareness campaigns. Despite these efforts, the opioid crisis continues to be a major public health issue in Michigan. The state is committed to continuing to work with partners to address this crisis and save lives.